topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Who is January Jones? She is not a young, beautiful, talented actress on Mad Men. She is not an older, gorgeous, exotic dancer from the Johnny Carson Show. She is an author, and she wrote Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th Commandment, that reached #1 at Amazon.com. She is a reality TV golf personality with World High Stakes Golf televised on HDNet. She is a humorist and winologist expert. She is your featured host today on January Jones Sharing Success Stories. So sit back, relax, and get ready to laugh and listen to Ms. Jones with her eclectic roster of guests as you learn life's lessons. These stories plus sharing equals success. Welcome, and remember, beware, because you are entering the no whining world of January Jones.
Greetings, everyone. I hope you're having a fabulous, fantastic day. I'm January Jones, and I'd like to welcome you to our podcast today. As my listeners know, my new brand is the Glitter Granny. As we know, we all wear many hats during our life: wife, mother, sister, friend, as we go through life every day. And today I'm wearing my silver interview hat. The thing I love about hats is then you don't really have to fuss much with your hair. Now for my listeners, let me ask you a question. Have you ever thought about being more successful? Have you ever thought about making more money? I think we all have. Have you ever wanted to get some help figuring out what your actual life goals really, truly are? Would you like to meet someone who has walked the walk, and he certainly has talked the talk? He is the father of AFFORMATIONS. Now, I didn't say affirmations, I said AFFORMATIONS. Tell me, do you ever wish you could make your dreams come true? Well, we all wish that. Would you like to meet someone who will share his own experiences, helping people to achieve their own dreams of wealth and happiness? Let me ask you, have you ever heard of an amazing book called The 7-Figure Life? How to leverage the 4 focus factors for more wealth and happiness. If you can answer yes or maybe to any of these questions I've asked, then you are in the right place, and I'd like to welcome you to January Jones Sharing Success Stories. So now it's time, rest, relax, go get some wine, get some cheese, and join us in the no wine zone. Let me tell you about our guest today. He is known as the father of affirmations and the mental health coach to the stars. He is the author of 22 books. Can you imagine that? Including The 7-Figure Expert, his latest book, The Ultimate Guide to a Life of More Impact, Influence, and Financial Freedom. And you can get a free copy, and we'll tell you how you can do that during the show. It's my pleasure to welcome back to the show Noah St. John. Hi, Noah. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, January. Great to be back here with you.
Oh, I was so happy to have you back today. I was going to share with my listeners that, so many people come on the show and they'll say to me, oh, if you ever need a guest, call me. I'll be there for you. Well, actually, Noah kept his word. Because I just had sadly, we had a guest who had to cancel. As you know, those things happen. And I sent Noah an email, and he was right back saying, yes, he could do it. So I'm especially pleased to have you with us today. Okay, Noah, let's start the show. Last time you were fabulous guest, And 22 books. Are you serious?
Yeah, well, it's by the time this airs, it might be up to 23 or 24. I've got two more books coming out this year. So yeah,
Oh,
I just keep rocking and rolling. I just, if you could see a picture here behind me, these are a few of my books that I've written here and published. And these are some of my books in other languages, 18 languages so far, for my books in various, languages like,
uh-huh.
Hungarian and Japanese and French and Portuguese and Chinese, and it just goes on and on. So yeah, I love, when I was a kid, I love reading books. I grew up in the library,
Uh-huh.
just reading. I was reading self-help books when I was a little kid,
Well,
or a young kid,
uh-huh.
and I always dreamed of being an author. Most boys, they dream about being a baseball player, football player, astronaut, whatever. I wanted to be an author. So, which is awfully nice because I'm living my dream, and now I get to help other people live their dreams as well. So it's been a lot of fun.
Incredible. I've only written 6 books. And and being an author is something I'm very proud of too,
Mhm.
especially since I didn't write my first book until I was 50 years old. So I was ready and roaring, but 22. Now share with our listeners, because I know a lot of people, everyone thinks they've got a book in them. And,
Yeah.
that's a fact of life. After you write a book, you hear about everyone else's. I'm going to write a book, 2 stories.
Right.
What's your method? How do you crank out these books?
Yeah, it's really funny that you asked that because my client kept asking me that same question, and now we actually created a book done for you service because people kept asking me that same question, and they basically said, Noah, can you help me write my book? And so we
Mhm.
have that now. We have a book done for you service. Just go to our website. You can just Google me, Noah St. John, or noahstjohn.com, and you can
Uh-huh.
check that out. But yeah, so I do have a very systematic approach to creating and writing books that are it's very important to me that the reader walks away with tangible action steps. Don't you hate it when you're reading a book and maybe you're halfway done, or even you get all the way through and you're like, okay, what am I supposed to do now?
Yeah.
And I always hated that. And the other thing that I can't stand is when authors, whether it's self-help authors or nonfiction, whatever, and basically all it is a bunch of stories. And
Right.
it's like, okay, I understand the point of stories. I get that. And stories
Mhm.
are important. I mean, stories is how we humans have been, teaching for thousands of years. So it's not like it's
Yeah.
wrong. But the problem is that a lot of those other writers out there, or so-called gurus, that's all they do is tell story, 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 story. And you're like, okay, well, that was great. But what am I supposed to do? So
Okay.
that's, I have a lot of pet peeves, you could say,
Yeah.
when it
Yeah.
comes to writing books and reading them. So one of the things that I do with all of my books, again, as you can see back here, is that I really make it very tangible for the reader. And I'm always sitting there thinking, what do I wish someone would have taught me a long time ago?
Oh,
About
okay.
this subject. It could be health. It could be like one of my books that I'm co-authoring right now is with a stem cell doctor in Nashville, and we're writing an anti-aging book together.
Oh,
So he
wow.
actually hired me to get his book done. He actually said, he told me when he hired me, he said, no, I've been thinking about writing a book for 10 years. And I was like, okay, well, I got his book done for him in 6 weeks. We got it done in 6 weeks. So,
Oh,
now it's just promotion and marketing and all those things you have to do when a book comes out, as you
yeah.
know. And so
Yeah.
anyway, the thing that I want people to remember is, as you mentioned, a lot of people, some studies say that 80% of Americans want to write a book. And honestly, I think everybody should write a book. If you are an entrepreneur right now, I really think you should write a book.
Yeah.
Whether you are a coach, whether you're a course creator, whether you are an architect or a chiropractor or a dentist, a wealth manager. I mean, I've helped all of these types of people and more to create their
Mhm.
books and online courses. You really need to have a book. And here's a couple of reasons why. First of all, think about how competitive it is out there today in any niche, any market you want to name. I mean, there's just no niche where it's not hyper competitive.
Right.
Especially take the coaching industry, right? Everybody and their brother is a coach at this point, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it's just that, you can't throw a rock without hitting a coach. And they're just everywhere. And so one of the things that can separate you from your competition is, have you written a book? So think about it this way. Let's say you're thinking about hiring a coach and Coach A has written a book and Coach B has not. Who you're probably going to go with? You're probably going to go with Coach A, who's written a book, or 20 in my case. You know what I'm saying? So that's just the fact of writing a book puts you in a higher competitive advantage, right? Yeah. And so that's one reason. Another reason why you should write a book, and again, for those of you listening to the program, if, as an entrepreneur, is to really have a legacy, right? Because I'm sure most of the people listening to this program are in like helping professions, like I said, like a coach or even a health professional, chiropractor, dentist. I call these the helping professions. You're helping people, right? And the fact is, I'll give you an example from another one of my clients. So I was working with one of my clients. Her name's Stacy, and she's a chiropractor up in Canada. Okay. And she said to me, Noah, I want to make more money in my practice. She's a 4th generation chiropractor. And I said, okay, that's great. And she said, well, what I'm going to do is, because she had already been learning from me and taking my classes. She said, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start marketing myself more, and I'm going to get more patients in my practice. I'm going to see more patients and adjust more patients. That's how I'm going to make more money. I said, well, that's great, Stacy. That's a fine plan. I just want you to know that you just told me that now you're going to be able to not see your family more than ever, right? You're going to be spending more time at the office. You're not going to see your family. You're going to be working all the time. And is that really the life you want? And she's like, gee, I never thought of it that way. It's like, well, there's only one of you, right? You only have 2 hands. You can only adjust so many people, right? So for those listening, think about, is that what you're doing? Are you doing a lot of one-on-one work? Again, there's nothing wrong with that. But the point is, or the problem with that is that there is always a ceiling on your income, right? You have a ceiling just by virtue of the fact that you can't work 24 hours a day. You cannot do it. Right. And not only that, you don't want to do it, right? You don't want to just be working all the time. You want to spend time with your family, right? You want to do fun things while making money. So that's what I told her. And I said, Stacy, we could take everything that's in your head, package it up in a book and in an online course, and then you can sell it to the whole world, not just your little community up there in Canada. You can sell it to the entire world because of this wonderful tool called the internet. Long story short, I helped her take what was in her head, package it up in actually several books now, and an online course. And now she's making 6 figures a month when she was making nothing, literally zero, because she didn't have any products. It was all her working with her 2 hands. She's still doing that. She loves her practice, but now she's making 6 figures a month just on the side. And it's something that, and by the way, she was able to not only spend more time with her family, but her dream was to take her family on a trip to the Grand Canyon. She said, no, if we could get there in like 5 to 7 years, that would be like my dream come true. We got her there in less than 18 months. Just because of putting things in place. So it's really powerful, and it can really change your life.
And, it's for people who are thinking about writing a book, I'll tell you, it changes the game. It opens the door. When people ask me about coming on the show and how they can be on the show, well, the first thing I ask is, have you written a book?
That's right.
Because if you've written a book, it's on your resume. It gives you credibility. It just opens doors. And speaking of opening doors, this book opened a lot of doors for me.
Yeah.
Lately, there's a whining epidemic in our world. People are even whining about whining. Are you sick and tired of listening to everyone whining all the time? So was January Jones, the author of Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th commandment that reached #1 at Amazon.com. Ms. Jones based her book on a survey of the top 10 things that people whine about at all ages and all stages of life. January is a success coach that can tell you how to help others. When you buy Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th commandment, you'll find out what people whine about and how to stop them from whining. This is the perfect gift book to give or get for any occasion. Thou Shalt Not Whine was voted the best gift to be given anonymously for those special people in your life. Ms. Jones is an internationally known author in the style of Irma Bombeck, specializing in housewife humor, with her book being published in Korea and China. You can find Thou Shalt Not Whine at Amazon.com.
Welcome back with my guest, Noah St. John, and his fabulous book. Stephen Covey, who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, said, Noah St. John's methods are about discovering what we should have known all along. We are truly powerful beings with unlimited potential. Doesn't get any better than that, does it?
Well, Stephen Covey was my inspiration for getting into this business.
Oh,
And
really?
I listened to his audio tape, and yes, it was on an audio tape. That's how long ago, in the early or mid '90s,
Uh-huh.
and it really changed my life. And so I when I listened to his program, I was actually at a very low point in my life. I had just I just made a decision to commit suicide, and at the last moment, my life was spared. So I was just getting over that experience. And so I found his work, and it really changed my life. And then about a year after that, I actually had the opportunity to interview Dr. Covey by phone. And we had 20 uninterrupted minutes, which for me was just a dream come true. And he was he was so perfect, and just exactly what you would have hoped Stephen Covey to be. For those of you who are familiar with his work.
Oh, yeah.
He said something I'll never forget, and it's something that still drives me and motivates me to this day, every day. And I asked him, I said, Dr. Covey, how do you handle it when people worship you? Because this was before I had written any of my books. I hadn't written a single book at that point. It was in the 1996, but I wanted to be an author. Like I talked about earlier, I always dreamed about being an author and a speaker and a coach and things like that. I always wanted to do it, but I didn't know what I was going to talk about or write about. But he was my inspiration, and so I wanted to hear from his lips. How do you handle that? You're speaking in front of all these groups, and how do you handle that? How do you basically, I was saying, how do you not get a big ego, which
Yeah.
not have. So I said, how do you do that? And he said something I'll never forget. He said, Noah, I want people to leave my seminars and any experience with me more impressed with themselves than with me.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
That really hit home, because think about how opposite that is of all the gurus that we have today, which is all about, look at me, look how cool I am, look at my jet, look at my helicopter, look at my car, and aren't I awesome? And it's like, yeah, you're awesome, man. Have you helped anybody else? And usually the answer is not really. That's one of the things that I realized after paying all those guys over $500,000, which is that they can't teach their way out of a paper bag, number one. And number two, they don't really have a system for success. They have what I call personality driven success. See, that's the opposite of what Dr. Covey did and what I do. It's because I have a system that's, for writing books. I have a system for helping people, add 6 or 7 or even 8 figures to their business. It's all about systems. And the thing is, when you see these personality driven gurus, you realize that they don't really have a system. They just are very good at what they do, which is promoting themselves. They're great self-promoters. But once you pay them money, you come to find out there's no there.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. And they're just selling air. And it's like, wow, I paid you all that money and there's nothing here. So that's one of the things that I've been talking about for many years now. And then now every time I go on social media, I see other people talking about it now too. And it's like, gee, I paid all the gurus all this money and they didn't have anything. I'm like, really? No kidding. I didn't know. This is what I've been saying for 10 years. Anyway, the point is, that's why having that endorsement from Dr. Covey literally was, one of the highlights of my life, my career, because he read one of my earlier books and gave me that endorsement. And
earlier books, which was, tell us, what was your first book? The first book you wrote?
Well, the very first book that I wrote was called Permission to Succeed. And that's because I realized that what I do is very different in this industry. And that's one of the reasons, frankly, people hire me after they've gone to all the gurus and they realize there's no there. And then they hire me and they say, wait a minute, oh my gosh, no one's doing something different here. And they start to add 6 and 7 and even 8 figures in record time. We call that hockey stick growth, right? They're kind of going along like this, and then the magic happens, and then whoop, hockey stick. So what I realized back in 1997, over 25 years ago now, was that we don't really need more how-tos of success. Instead, what we actually need for most of us is we need to give ourselves permission to succeed. Hence the name, Permission to Succeed. In fact, I actually trademarked that term. I own that term, Permission to Succeed. And I was the first person to ever talk about that. Now people are talking about it, but I was the first one to ever point out that, wait a minute, we don't need more how-tos. What we need is a system, always comes back to systems, a system to actually give ourselves permission to succeed. Because I realized that I was starving myself of success my whole life. That was another term that I came up with. I call it success anorexia. There are tens of millions of people all around the world, the United States, Canada, all around the world. In fact, people have bought my books and my courses and hired me as a coach, in over 140 countries now, all around the world for the past 25 years. And I realized that tens of millions of people are unknowingly, unconsciously starving themselves of the success they're capable of. So I fixed that problem 25 years ago. And that's one of the reasons that my clients make so much money so quickly.
Yeah. Permission to Succeed. That's a great title. I love it. And I haven't seen the book, but I'm sure you have, as you know, a great cover, because that is also one of the...
Well, that book actually became this book, which is called Power Habits, and you can see it back over there. Anyway, so this book, Power Habits, is actually the newest iteration of what I discovered 25 years ago. Power Habits, that book, Power Habits, which you can find at powerhabitsbook.com, actually came out in 2019, and it's the newest iteration. We call it the Power Habit System, and the full title is The Power Habits of Unconsciously Successful People. I discovered 25 years ago what highly successful people are doing unconsciously, that therefore, number one, they don't even know they're doing it, and number two, more importantly, they can't teach it to you. So that's why, the gurus are basically great at self-promotion, and they're unconscious at whatever they're doing, and that's why there's no there because they don't even know what they're doing, really. They just do it not naturally, unconsciously. I'm like, well, that's great for you, but how about the rest of us? You know what I mean? And so that's why, what my teaching is different. And I actually systematized, I broke it down in a way that, frankly, most people have never heard of and certainly have never tried. I'll give you a quick example.
Sure.
One of my clients, actually, he told me the story, and he found this book in Barnes & Noble. It's called, again, the book is called Power Habits, and he walked by it 3 times. It was on display at the Barnes & Noble. He kept walking by it. And finally, he just said, I got to get this book. Something about this book is calling to me, he said. And so he read about half the book. He didn't even finish the whole thing. He contacted me on my website, and he said, Noah, I want you to coach me because, you're the coach that I've been looking for. This is exactly what I need right now. And I said, well, what's going on? He said, Noah, I know I'm holding myself back. He said, now he was doing well. I mean, he was doing 6 figures in his business, high 6 figures, but he said, I know I can do so much more. And he said, this is the key that I've been looking for. So anyway, I asked him, I said, how much do you think not having this in place is going to cost you this year? He said, $1 million. Noah, if I don't get this in place, I'm going to lose $1 million. I mean, I'm going to lose out on at least $1 million that I know is just sitting here. So I said, give me 10% of that million. That's 100K. And I will find you $1 million in the next 12 months. In other words, I'm known for just helping people find money that's just right there that they just can't see and they can't mine it. It's like you're standing on a gold mine digging away with a teaspoon. So I show you how to use a backhoe and get that gold that's right there in front of you. Anyway, so he paid me 100K. That's 10% of $1 million. So I coached him one-on-one for 12 months. And what happened was I didn't actually find him $1 million in that 12 months. I found him $1.8 million in just 10 months. So you want to talk about hockey stick? It was wow. No. And not only that, with the coda of it is that he emailed me and said, Noah, guess where I am? I'm on vacation now with my wife. We're taking a 7-week vacation. We just bought a new RV with all this money we've got now. Bought a new RV where my wife and I were driving the Southeast, just taking a 7-week vacation. He said, so now, Noah, not only am I making more money than ever before, I also have more time than I ever had. So it's not just about the money, but more importantly, it's about the time that you gain really winning your life back. Yeah.
And as you and I both know, time is money. That's and right. It's the most important thing in your life. Tell us a little bit, how long you've been married to Babette, yes. And how long have you been married and how did you meet her?
Yeah. Oh boy, is that a funny story? So, before
we do that, we have to take a break.
Yeah, let's do it. Take a break.
The book.
Let me ask you a question. Are you still wondering who killed Kennedy? Over 50 years later, the assassination is still a mystery. It is unfinished business for our country. Now, get ready for a theory that you've never heard before, but will make more sense than any other conspiracy theory that you've ever heard in the past. January Jones speaks the unspeakable in her book, Jackie, Ari, and Jack, The Tragic Love Triangle, connecting Jackie and Aristotle Onassis romantically prior to JFK's assassination. Did you know that Ari was Jackie's guest in the White House during the JFK funeral? He was the only non-family member who was invited by Jackie to stay there during the funeral. Aristotle Onassis was one of the wealthiest men in the world, with the means, the motive, and the money to order an assassination that was the perfect crime of the last century. Ari needed class, and Jackie needed cash. They were perfect for each other. Now, what is Camelot? It is but another tragic love triangle. Jackie, Ari, and Jack is available at JanuaryJones.com, Amazon.com, and audiobooks.com, read by Ms. Jones.
Welcome back with my fabulous guest. Okay, I want to hear how you met Babette. I mean, how long are you married? And tell us the whole little romance part.
Yeah, well, I started my company, successclinic.com, in 1997, over 25 years ago, in a 300 square foot basement apartment with $800 in a book on HTML. So I had nothing. I had no money, no business experience, no marketing, no sales, no nothing. But I just had one thing going for me, which was a dream and a vision to help people and make a difference around the world. As Steve Jobs put a dent in the universe. So I started doing that, right? So, and things were going okay, but the problem was that I didn't really have the training, I didn't have the support, and I didn't have the help that I needed. So I ended up paying all these gurus all this money, only to find out they suck at teaching. And so they gave me a lot of terrible advice, which unfortunately I followed, I listened to them. And so I ended up losing everything. And in 2007, 10 years later, I ended up $40,000 in credit card debt as a result of listening to all this terrible advice and having to move into my parents' basement at age 40. So try that on for size. Basement number 1 in 1997 to basement number 2 in 2007 with less money than basement number 1. So, of course, my parents, they took pity on me. They took me in and they said, Noah, you've been doing this 10 years. You got nothing to show for it. Maybe you should go get a job. You should quit, give up, and they were doing it from a loving space. They weren't being mean. They were just, dude, this is not working, and I was like, no, I couldn't give up. So for those folks listening, I mean, I'm sure everybody listening has had moments like that where you're like, man, I think I just want to give up, but you just, you keep going, you find the reason why to keep going. And I did, so that was when I made the decision that changed everything for me. And I hired my first real business coach. Now, prior to that, I was, as I mentioned, paying all those gurus, and that was a terrible mistake. And, they had nothing to say except really bad advice. So this business coach really helped me. And finally, I was able to put it together. So the point is, I started to make money online really for the first time after 10 years of really very little or nothing to show for it. So I started to make money. So I was talking with a friend of mine, and he and I had spoken at an event in Las Vegas together. And he said, and I'm telling him, I really want to get out of my parents' basement. I mean, this sucks. I'm 40 years old. You got to be kidding me, right? This is no good. And he said, well, why didn't you move? Now, I didn't know this, but he actually lived in Ohio. And so, because we had met in Vegas, and anyway, so we're talking on the phone. He says, hey, Noah, why don't you move here to Ohio? It'll be fun. And I'm going, Ohio fun. I don't get that. I don't see it. But there was something inside of me that just went ding. And I was like, I'm supposed to move to Ohio? And I'm like, what? That didn't make any sense. And I'm sure everyone listening can relate to that too, right? You just, something up here doesn't make any sense in your head, but something in your heart or your gut, your intuition, whatever it is, your higher knowing, and you do that thing and it works out amazing. Well, that's what I did. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't know what the heck I'm doing here. But so I moved here to Ohio in April 2007. And
where in Ohio?
What's that?
Where in Ohio?
I'm in Northeast Ohio. It's actually, I'm 10 minutes from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's where I live right now. So
you don't know, but I married Ohio State Buckeye.
Oh, wow. Nice. Well, that's great. It's a great school and a great state. And so anyway, I came here in April 2007, and that friend who was the only person that I knew in Ohio. He introduced me to one of his friends, and that friend introduced me to Babette. So that's how I met her. So literally 3 weeks after I moved here, I met the woman who would be my wife. So we've been married 12 years now, been together 16 years. And yeah, Ohio's been very good to me. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, well, I'm married in Ohio. And the interesting thing is I'm actually from Michigan, which is
boy.
unheard of. Yeah.
Wow. That must be some interesting conversations.
Yeah, but after 53 years, guess who I cheer for? I cheer for Ohio.
Yeah, Ohio, exactly. Well, as I always say when people bring that up, I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm from Maine, so I don't have a dog in the fight. I just look back and I go, "Wow, okay, you guys get pretty passionate here." So,
Yeah.
but it's a fun rivalry.
Okay, so was it love at first sight? How did the courtship go?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was definitely. I mean, she's just a beautiful woman. And what's amazing is, she's so beautiful on the outside. And, I'm sure we've all met people who are really attractive.
Yeah.
And then you talk to them and you're like, okay, it's not really, you know what I mean? It doesn't match up with the looks.
Yeah.
And she's so beautiful to look at. And I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop because I'm like, she's so loving.
Yeah.
She's so patient and kind and sweet and just generous. She, puts everybody else ahead of herself. She's a great, wife, a great mom. She takes care of her mom, and she's just the most loving person I ever met. And I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm like, nobody can be that loving. She is, and the shoe never dropped. I'm like, oh my God, that really is her. And because I've been with a lot of women who were not so much. Let's just say.
Okay, so then. How did you persuade her to take a chance on you? Because obviously at that time you were not where you are now.
Oh God, no. I mean, I was when I moved here to Ohio, I was in this, walk up 1-bedroom apartment, very, very modest, shall we say? Because remember, I'd been $40,000 in debt. I mean, I was just crawling out of a very deep hole financially. So I was just trying to put the pieces back together, and and she somehow fell in love with me. I can't explain it. I say this all the time. Good thing love is blind. I say that all the time because that worked out well for me. But anyway, she fell in love with me somehow. And so I remember that because then we started traveling together, because I'm a speaker and was going and traveling and doing all these things. Mm-hmm. And so I had our engagement when I was going to propose to her. I had this plan for almost a year. I mean, it was a good at least 6 to 8 months. And so the way that it happened was I knew that we were going to be going to the West Coast, and it was going to be her first visit to the West Coast. Now, I'd been there many times, but she'd never been to California. She'd never seen the Pacific Ocean before. So, she grew up on a farm in Ohio. She's a farm girl, and so she lived the kind of sheltered life, shall we say. But, now I've shown her the world, and it's been amazing. But anyway, so it was our first time going to, and for her first time seeing the Pacific Ocean.
Okay.
I remember that I had this all planned, and I drove us to Coronado Beach, right outside of San Diego. Beautiful location, and we were standing there on the beach, and I had the ring in my pocket, and I was so nervous. And I said, we were actually, it was, sunset, and I said, I had my arms around. I said, "Gosh, this is so great, isn't it, honey? This is almost perfect." And she looked at me like, "What do you mean almost perfect?" And I said, "Let's see, what could make this even better?" "Oh, I know." And then I got down on my knee and proposed.
Oh, you did?
She said yes. So it was very romantic, and it was really fun. So yeah, I had that planned for months and months. and then we had our wedding, which was great. And many people said that we should be wedding planners because she and I planned the whole thing, and it was like military precision. Everything was great, from the food to the DJ, and the DJ. I picked out all the songs, and the DJ said, "Man, no, I've done 500 weddings. This is the best wedding song. This is the best wedding songs I've ever seen. The best playlist, I should say." She said, "This is the best playlist I've ever seen." I'm like, "Well, you're welcome." Anyway, so it's crazy.
Now, people who want to write a book, and if they want to work with you, I'm curious because actually I'm in the middle of writing a book that I didn't even know I was going to write. My children gave me one of these gifts where you write, you answer questions, and it gets put together. And it's a fabulous idea.
Yeah.
it gets put into a book, which is, memoir, very painful to write, very difficult to write.
Yeah.
You work with nonfiction.
Mm-hmm.
That true? Or do you ever do memoirs, or have you written your memoir?
I could do a memoir, but I don't really want to. And the reason for that is they're just so hard to market. They're really hard. Unless you're a celebrity. So, I mean, it's just tough because, and this is the thing that I say to my clients all the time, or, people who want to hire me, and they say, no, I want to write my life story. And I say, I'm sorry, but nobody cares. Nobody cares. Mm-hmm. Sorry. Unless you have a message or, a thing you're going to help them with. Unless your name's Kim Kardashian or something, then, you're a celebrity. Well, of course. But, so I really wouldn't write my memoirs because I don't think anybody would care. That's why I keep pumping out these nonfiction books that help people get a result. How to make more in 12 weeks than you did in the past 12 months, how to be a 7-figure expert, how to have $100,000 months while taking more time off, how to change your brain, how to have power, you know what I mean? So I'm always giving you a result, and I find that's just easier to sell. So that's why I choose to do that.
I agree with you completely. And the nice thing about what I'm doing with this book is it's just for my family. And it's just a small edition, and it's something the grandkids can, But what I'm finding, legacy is even bigger than a book, is that this show is on YouTube.
Yes.
And over 100 different podcasts. And so all of a sudden, if anyone wants to know many years down the road what I was like, they can just tune in and listen to you and I.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's what's happening in the world. And it's an amazing thing. Mm-hmm. Right now, we're going to take a break, and I'm going to share some other priceless personalities with you, just like Noah. Have you ever met someone who was unforgettable? Someone who has touched your heart and soul? People who have faced difficult problems? People who have struggled to find solutions? People who fearlessly shared their stories? People who have not only informed you, but inspired you? People who have priceless personalities? I have been fortunate to host an internet radio talk show called January Jones Sharing Success Stories, and it has been my privilege to interview hundreds of guests. My guests have shared their stories, their struggles, their secrets, and their successes in their own words. In this book, we're talking about people dealing with problems such as incest, molestation, runaway kids, child abuse, drug abuse, polygamy, unemployment, scandal, and starting over. Then there are my guests dealing with difficult physical struggles such as blindness, cancer, and birth defects that are beyond traumatic. My guests have all been exciting, eclectic, and energizing. They have amazed, amused, and even astonished me. I have adored getting to meet them, and I adore sharing them with you.
Attention all listeners. Priceless Personalities, Success Stories Shared by January Jones, Volume 2 is now available at Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle editions. You'll be able to meet 10 amazing people who will be sharing their own personal stories with all their struggles, successes, and solutions, sprinkled with lots of humor and hope. Priceless Personalities features a teenager who becomes one of the famous Supremes from Motown, a nurse who as a humorist helps people to heal, an inspiring laughter yoga instructor, a mother dealing with the loss of a child, an incredible motivational speaker, a woman who married 5 times, a gifted paranormal nurse, a wise economist, a funny female humorist, along with an older man sharing his sweet childhood in the Deep South. January's guests are all amazing and amusing. You will never forget meeting them. Go to Amazon.com for your own priceless experience.
Welcome back with Noah St. John. And at the back of his book, Jack Canfield, who is the creator, the fabulous creator of Chicken Soup for the Soul. He writes, Noah has discovered one of the most significant breakthroughs in the study of success in decades. That's saying a lot, getting something from him. And your latest book, The Figure Expert, people can get that by going to
Yeah, so
One of
this is the new book. It's called The Seven-Figure Expert, Your Ultimate Guide to a Life of More Impact, Influence, and Financial Freedom. Very easy. By the way, this book is free. You can get this book for free because you're watching and listening to this program right now. All right. So just go here. It's very easy to remember. sevenfigureexpertbook.com. That's it. sevenfigureexpertbook.com. Easy to remember. The book is free. We just ask you to cover the shipping. We ship anywhere on planet Earth. We actually just got, I was checking the orders recently. We just got an order from an entrepreneur in Uganda. And it's very expensive to ship books to Uganda, I found out. But anyway, you can get anywhere, US, Canada, UK, Germany, Australia, wherever you are. So sevenfigureexpertbook.com, your ultimate guide to a life of more impact, influence, and financial freedom. And in this book, I give you my 7-figure expert formula. Remember, everything's a formula system. And it's got lots of illustrations. All of my books have illustrations and, lots of examples and real life case studies so that that you can do it too. You can literally add that multiple 6 or 7 or even 8 figures to your expert business, just like I've helped a lot of other people do.
And, I want to add that if you have like my grandchildren, and I have some grandchildren who are doing some interesting internships. One of them's working in Kansas City at Harrah's Casino, and he's having the time of his life.
Wow.
And they're doing the game show, Deal or No Deal. And he's part of the promotion and he's the MC. And so the first show he did, they got down to the last suitcase and the man chose to they offered him $1,200 or what's in the suitcase. He took the $1,200 and my grandson opened the suitcase and there was $10,000. So that brings me to share with us your experience on the game show Concentration.
Yes, well, this was in the early 90s. Actually, it was 1989. I had just driven across the country from Maine to Los Angeles in my 1977 Buick Riviera. And I went to LA because I wanted to be a movie star. That was my dream, to be a movie star. And, what was funny was I grew up on stage from the age of 3. My father worked at a summer theater in Kennebunkport, Maine. And so my brother and I would get on stage and we would do Ernie and Bert from Sesame Street. We would act out those skits from Ernie and Bert. I was always Ernie. Anyway. So from a very young age, I got to be very comfortable on stage in front of people and so forth. So anyway, I decided at the age of 22, I said, let's go to LA. Let's be a movie star. Well, Hollywood was underwhelmed by my performance, shall we say. And so I did not become a movie star, gosh darn it. But I had also been studying the game show Concentration. And for those of you who don't remember that, it was a really great show. Alex Trebek was actually the host back then. So he was actually doing double duty. He was hosting Concentration and Jeopardy way back then. Of course, then Concentration was canceled. But I loved that game. And it was basically a Pictionary game that you would make these, you would have to match these numbers and then solve the puzzle. Anyway, I was great at it. I studied it for 6 months and I got on the show and I literally in my head, this is a true story. I said, all I want is to win a trip to Hawaii or Australia. And that's exactly what happened. That's all I want. I want a trip to Hawaii, all paid for. Wow. I stayed at the Hilton Hawaiian Village and I was 3 seconds away from winning a new car. I did not win a new car. And that was it. So that's when I started to learn. This was long before, by the way, I discovered my power habit system and how the mind actually works. Because I realized that I literally told the universe exactly what to do. And the universe did it exactly what I said.
Hey, guess what? That's what works. I have a game show history too. I was on Joker's Wild with Jack Barry.
Yes, I love that show.
And The Neighbors with Regis Philbin. And of course, we were on Family Feud with Dawson, who really does kiss all the women.
Yeah, yes, he did. Wouldn't fly so much today.
And at one point, I had been on so many game shows that I was ineligible. So then I got hired to be like when they did the practice or the pitches for the show, I was a professional contestant.
Nice.
And here I was, a mom in the suburbs with 4 kids, and they were giving me $100 a day. Can you imagine that?
Wow, that's beautiful.
Goodbye, husband. I'm off to game show.
Right. Oh, that's great. That sounds like fun.
to do. And now my grandson, who's an MC for the game show, I said, so after college, what do you want to do? And he says, well, I'd like to be a game show MC. And I said, I don't think they have a major in that.
Well, look, now he's doing it. That's wonderful.
So speaking of grandchildren, I also want to suggest to our listeners that these books are fabulous books to share with young people, because what better time for them to get these incredible, I call it his secret sauce, and he certainly has the Midas touch. So this is stuff that should be shared, and it's not just for us old farts, but it's something young people can really take in and do something with. And it's what I like is it's a step-by-step how to do it.
Yes.
And there's no BS going on here. This is an amazing book, 22 books, unbelievable. Yeah. When you look at your career, do you have, I don't know if I've asked you this before, but do you have any regrets?
I have tons of regrets. Paying all those clowns all that money. So yeah, I have a spreadsheet of all the people that I paid and got nothing. So yes, I regret giving them all my money. So yeah, I've got a lot of regrets. And you know, I look, I've made millions, I've lost millions. I still have a smile on my face. So you know, I'm doing okay. But yeah, I definitely regret trusting those guys, because what I realized is what I said already. They're great at selling themselves. They're great self-marketers, great self-promoters, but they suck at teaching. They can't teach away a paper bag. Like I said, also, it's so funny to go on social media. Everybody's posting about this now. What I've been telling everybody for 10 years is you just got to do your homework. You've got to do your research and make sure that whoever you're going to hire, because we all need a coach, a mentor. You know, it's too hard nowadays. There's just too much complexity out there. So I'm not saying don't have a coach. You definitely you need to have a coach, really. Yeah. And you might even need more than one for whatever, if you want to write a book or create an online course or whatever it might be. The point is just make sure you do your homework. Make sure they have a system. That is the key point. Make sure it's not just their only success stories themselves. That's the key point. If they're only success stories themselves, then make sure you run the other way. Come see me. Go to breakthroughwithnoah.com. By the way, you can go there. That's how you can find out about coaching with me. Breakthroughwithnoah.com. I'm known as the breakthrough coach because I help people get 6, 7, 8 figure breakthroughs in record time. Breakthroughwithnoah.com. Just watch the video there. There's an 11-minute video you can apply to, get coaching from me. Breakthroughwithnoah.com. And again, I'll just reiterate, remember, the book is free, 7figureexpertbook.com.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to go and order that book, and I'm going to order it for some of my grandchildren.
They will love it. They will love it.
Yeah. We're going to be spending next week. We're taking them on a cruise. There's going to be 20 of us. We're celebrating our 53rd wedding anniversary. Oh. And someone said, well, how do you get all your family together for something like that? And I said, well, when it's our nickel, everyone,
Yeah, pretty easy, right? That's not too tough.
I said, we could be going to Antarctica and all be able to make it.
Hey, Grandma's fan, let's go.
Yeah, but it gets back to what you talk about. You talk about time, energy, relationships, and then money, lastly. And time and relationships, they're right up there at the top of my list. And I think for people who are trying to create success, you need to go to Noah St. John's website and check in with him. And Noah, thank you so much for jumping in with me today, because you have solved my guest situation.
Anytime. I'm always here for you, January. I love talking to you.
Oh, I love talking to you too. And for our listeners, we hope you've enjoyed our time together again today. We've tried to be very informative, and Noah's been very inspiring. My upcoming guests will all be eclectic, exciting, and energizing, just like Noah was today. My 80-year-old thought for the day: like all older people, I have many hidden talents. I just wish I could remember where I hid them. So there you go. Signing off from the Glitter Granny. Remember, stop whining, start smiling. And if that doesn't work, then you can just start eating chocolate, dark chocolate, lots and lots of it. Take care and stay safe.
We want to thank you for listening to January Jones Sharing Success Stories. Always remember Ms. Jones' personal mantra, if you can think it, you can do it. That's what all of our guests have done with their lives, and so can you. You are the ultimate success coach in your own life. All you need to do will be to start sharing your own story with your family and friends. We hope that our guest stories will encourage you to explore an equation in your future that will combine your creativity plus connecting with others will enable you to be successful too. Always remember, your passion plus your purpose will equal prosperity as you explore the wonderful world of January Jones.